Bases dropped in Soccer's morning show. It is Wall Pass Wednesday. It is a game day Wednesday in the Open Cup for those of you who celebrate. And there's Open Cup to talk about. There's stuff around the world to talk about. Whatever you want to talk about, once again, because it's a Wall Pass Wednesday. And there's, like I said, there's plenty to play with, and we'll start with this. After what happened last night in Boston with Trae Young going full-blown ice Trae at the end of it all, we have our answer. The Janet Jackson concert's moving to Friday. Friday, April 28th. Refunds available for those who can't make it. Janet and Taylor Swift, Friday night. All of them. So there you go. There was a plan. Janet Jackson concert moved to Friday. So it is Janet, it is Hawks, it is Janet. So that's what you're staring at. Morning, Knicks. Morning, Coco. Yes, don't go downtown if you can help it on Friday. Do not. If you got tickets, good on you. For one of the two. The Taylor Swift folks are saying, take Marta. They're not wrong. Yes, avoid. Yes. So between Taylor Swift and Janet Jackson, you're going to have 11 billion people downtown Friday night. If you don't got to be there, don't be there. Focus on other things, like maybe driving to Nashville. Stuff like that. So that's what we're staring at this morning. Morning, Abby. Opening kickoff is more of a QOD, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up here anyway. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget, thanks to everybody who has been picking up their Kickoff Coffee. And they use the code SOCCERDOWNHERE15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth game, youth initiatives, and youth stuff. Very, very cool from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. It's more of a QOD. Yeah, parking will be $1 billion. Parzival, you're not friggin' exaggerating. And BAM has so BAM is your match at like 11 o'clock in the morning? I think that's when your match is tonight with here locally, East Coast time, with Philadelphia Union and LAFC in leg one of their semifinal in CONCACAF Champions League. Tigres won last night 2-1. All the goals were scored in the first half with Leon. Nothing scored in the second half. So it is up to Tigres to close the deal out next time around. So, yeah, it is poor preparation if you haven't had the chance to wait until now to get parking. It's just bad play. So my question this morning, my QOD, the QOD this morning, is having to do with Open Cup. And last night, we really didn't get a whole lot of cup sets. We got one late. Monterey Bay knocking off San Jose Earthquakes by the score of 1-0. So the rundown yesterday in Open Cup. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, no problem with Maryland Bobcats. At Highmark, they won 2-0. Took, I think, until the 104th minute for Charleston to beat Charlotte Independence, 1-0. That was at Patriots Point. Revs took a while. Hartford Athletic actually was hanging with them for a while. 2-1 final, the Revs over Hartford Athletic. Get into the second half again. And South Georgia Tormenta was hanging with Charlotte FC, but Charlotte FC had a couple of goals in quick succession, ended up winning 4-1 at Matthews. Detroit City had a lead at Keyworth, and they collapsed like with 30 minutes to go. Minnesota United wins 3-1. St. Louis City scored early and often at City Park. They beat the Murder Owls of Union Omaha 5-1. Sporting Kansas City, they didn't waste any time. Beat Tulsa Athletic by the score of 3-0. And then you had your cup set with Monterey Bay. So my question, dear listener, viewer, how are you on cup sets? Since we only got the one last night, I know for those of you that are fans of the March tournament, the March and April tournament when it comes to college basketball, traditionally the way that it goes is that if one night nothing happens and it's chalk, then the second night you have chaos. So anticipating what we think might happen if you believe in those kind of theories. So Monterey Bay is your only cup set last night. You had eight matches, one cup set, which means that today is probably going to be the crazier of the 2 days. Once again, crazy can be a relative term. So my question of the day is, do you like cup sets? How are you on the status of a cup set? Do you want chaos? Or do you want chalk? Right now we're in the round of 32. And so far it's been fairly chalky with the matchups that have been played out. Charleston, Pittsburgh, Charlotte FC, Minnesota United, Revs, St. Louis City, Sporting, and then your cup set late with Monterey Bay. Tonight, and I'll ask this question as a bit of a follow-up too, but how are you on the life of the cup set? Did you dig it last year? Would you have appreciated what we saw with Sacramento Republic making the run that they did, knocking off a couple of MLS teams along the way? Did you like that, or did you want chalk? How do you like your tournaments? Do you want chalk? Do you want the best of the best, or do you want chaos? Traditionally, for me, I like chaos. So last year when Sacramento Republic made their run, I was all for it. Keep knocking off the big boys. Magic of the Open Cup, hashtag. And by the way, for those of you that are on Twitter, if you were to partake in Mike Conti's Twitter feed today, he is reminding us all that the hashtag action at the fraction needs to be going on social media. So for those of you who are on Twitter, Mike is reminding us about the hashtag action at the fraction, because we'll get into that too today. Obviously, with what's going on with Atlanta United, with Memphis 901 coming to town, and Memphis 901 basically being Atlanta United 2 West or Central. But how are you on your cup sets? Do you like cup sets? Do you want chalk? Do you want the best of the best, or do you want chaos? So that'll be the underlying question today. The rundown, no, that does not mean I'm for Memphis tonight under any circumstance. Yes, and it is Thiago Almada's birthday. So happy birthday to Thiago Almada. But, you know, we all appreciate the underdog. Yeah, Nix, Tim Howard is a part owner in Memphis. He's like the sporting director and a part owner. And so it was probably that relationship that brought in Bill Hamid to give him a bit of a lifeline. And we'll have the guys on from the USL show tomorrow in the 10 o'clock hour. And they can discuss in depth, I think, the deal that was picked up by Bill Hamid. Basically, if Hamid gets if he gets a knock on the door from an MLS team, he's free to go. So I think Kaylor Hodges will be joining us tomorrow, and we're trying to figure out who else from the USL show is going to be joining us for their monthly visit. Traditionally, the last Thursday, 10 o'clock hour Eastern time, the guys from the USL show come in for their breakdown of everything going on in the USL. But so my question of the day, do you like cup sets? Considering that today in the schedule, you know, we've got a decent amount of matchups that could yield, you know, a little batch of crazy. So today, and I'll see if we have juice boxes attached to any of these. Today, 7 o'clock at Segra, Loudoun United and Flower City Union. So it's NISA versus USL Championship. FC Cincinnati and Lou City. That one's going to be spicy. Considering FC Cincinnati and their time in USL Championship with Lou City, Cincinnati, and Louisville, that one's going to have a little extra spice added to it. That one is on BR on the app and on their YouTube channel. 7:30 is the match that we're going to be talking about here in hour number one. Atlanta United, Memphis 901, 7:30. Mike and Jason will have the call on 92.9. And it's going to be it's going to be a fun atmosphere. Looking forward to seeing everybody up there at the Fraction, because as you all know, at 7:30, action at the Fraction is undergoing in U.S. Open Cup involving Atlanta United. You've got in Boca Raton at Ricardo Silva Stadium, you have Fort Lauderdale versus Boca, otherwise known as the Miami FC and Inter Miami CF. I wonder, and this one's going to be on the Golazo Network, and I wonder if Inter Miami is actually going to have any offense again. This one has prime stumble written all over it. Another fun one: DC United at Audi Field against Richmond Kickers. Knowing how those two teams have been a part of the fabric of that part of the planet over the last quarter century. Tampa Bay and Houston Dynamos at Al Lang, and Dynamos at Al Lang. The DC United match and the Tampa Bay match right now don't have any kind of broadcast attached to it. Crew and Indy 11 at 7:30 at the Death Star. The team is putting out a broadcast on that. Birmingham Legion is playing out at the University of Alabama. They're not local. They're not at Protective. They're not at Birmingham Southern, because remember what happened last time they were at Birmingham Southern. They got beat by Tormenta. So they're in Tuscaloosa tonight. Chattanooga FC goes to Tuscaloosa to take on Birmingham Legion. That's a team broadcast as well. Peter Wilt on Peter Wilt crime at SeatGeek in Bridgeview with Chicago Fire and Chicago House. Nashville SC and San Antonio FC at Geodis at 8:30. That one is on BR and the BR football app. And that one's also got some spice to it, because you've got the reigning champs of USL Championship, Jordan Farr and net. This is going to be an all-in for San Antonio. I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people think. Colorado Rapids, Northern Colorado Hailstorm. This one will be fun. Eamon Zayed will be more than happy to give a cup set against Colorado Rapids. That one's in Commerce City, and that's a team broadcast as well. At the Lab in Albuquerque, New Mexico United Phoenix Rising, USL Championship. If the West didn't like each other already, then you got those two going at it at 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock at Hard Health. No broadcast yet. Sacramento and Oakland Roots. 10 o'clock at Starfire on BR. Seattle, San Diego Loyal. That one's going to be an interesting one. 10 o'clock at Cashman. The Vegas Lights have a team broadcast for their matchup against RSL. And then late on Golazo Network at 10:30 at Providence Park, Portland Timbers and Orange County SC. So for those of you that want to hang out late and catch Vegas Lights, you can get your Cubo Torres sighting. So Golazo Network tonight is Boca Raton versus Fort Lauderdale. And then late, Portland and Orange County. Of all of those, what are you looking at? What do you see? What do you see? Who's it? Ricky's got Hailstorm in that one. I do too. Like I said, you look at FC Cincinnati and Lou City. FC Cincinnati, what are they going to look like? I think Lou City could take that one, even though it is at TQL. Cincinnati's had problems scoring goals. I've got the Miami FC because Inter Miami can't score. I like the idea of San Antonio. Excuse me. I like the idea of San Antonio FC giving Nashville SC the business. I like Northern Colorado against Colorado. Vegas against RSL, maybe. So there's plenty of opportunities for cup sets since we didn't get them yesterday. So the opportunities are there. Nick, CBS All Access. If you go to CBS Sports, you can catch the CBS Sports Network. You can watch them on that. And you can watch the Golazo channel on Golazo Network on CBSSports.com. So at least right now, anyway. It is a part of Paramount Plus, but there have been links on CBS Sports, and I posted one yesterday when we were trying to get ready to watch things on Golazo, that you can go to CBSSports.com and you can watch the Golazo Network online there. Ricky's got the Hailstorm. Ricky's posting the links in the Discord. We like that. Abby is going for the Miami SC. Knicks, Rowdies could be a candidate with the Dynamo, even though the Dynamo started well. Yes, and Abby with the public service, wondering where everyone is sitting or standing tonight. So we're keeping an eye on that. Atlanta United on the Mississippi, not a team I hate. No, Memphis 901. I mean, with what Stephen Glass has done, we all knew, much like his time at Aberdeen, if you gave him time, his system would be implemented, and then you would see the results. First 2 matches, they got blown out. Philip Goodrum unhappy. Last 3 matches, they haven't lost. So once again, I mean, it's like, for me, it's like the old Spider-Man gif where you got Spidey looking in the mirror, or Spidey's looking at the other image of Spider-Man, and they're pointing at each other. With Laurent Kisiadou, Philip Goodrum, Luis Fernando, and Stephen Glass, it is literally Atlanta United on the Mississippi. So, Kefsey, I give you credit for that. But that's what you're looking at tonight. So I will take your cup sets, and I will take what you guys are thinking about this one. I'm trying to see. So BAM has San Diego, Orange County, Chicago House. That's an interesting one. And Memphis 901. You're not going to win any friends, BAM. Yes. Ricky's already calling him a traitor. And Bam just wants to watch the world burn. You should have done that last night. You want to watch the world burn, then you should have rooted for cup sets last night. That's what you should have done. But, yeah, we're here in the round of 32, and only the one cup set late last night with Monterey Bay. Just so you know, here's your juice boxes. No real surprises. FC Cincinnati's a minus 185. Lou City, and this is 90 minutes. Because, once again, we had matches go the extra 30 last night. Lou City's a plus 450. Loudon a big favorite against Flower City Union at a minus 525. Atlanta United a big favorite 90 minutes at a minus 227. Memphis is north of plus 500. DC United is minus 556, and it's changing as we go here because I'm keeping an eye on it. Richmond is north of plus 1,000. Inter Miami is a slight favorite at a minus 101. The Miami FC is a plus 241. Chicago Fire are a minus 1429 in the composite, by the way. Nashville SC is a minus 154. RSL is a minus 115 on the road at Vegas. Sounders are a minus 179 hosting San Diego. Timbers are a minus 263 hosting Orange County, who's north of plus 610. So that's what you're staring at there. Yes, and I think that would probably be the best. As Mike Conti, Michael Head, traditionally says, what you want out of this one, first and foremost, is everyone to come out healthy. No injuries. No injuries, no injuries, no injuries, please. So yesterday, Atlanta United had their press opportunity getting ready for Open Cup. And other than Vicente Reyes, no other Atlanta United 2 players signed for Open Cup. Pineda did say that there are a few players that are deserving of call-ups. And, you know, when I got to catch up with Coach Pineda after the match on the weekend, I mean, he rattled off a good half a dozen names. And from what we've all been able to listen to on the SDH network so far this year, it has been Eric Lopez, it has been Luke Brennan, it has been Tyler Young at right back, it has been Kofi Tumasi in the middle, it has been Aiden McFadden, it has been I'm trying to go through the starting 11, but I mean and you've got Vicente Reyes, it's also a part of this, but so there have been folks who have done Noah Cobb at the back. So the half a dozen guys at least that have continued to work their way through what Steve Cook wants them to with Atlanta United 2. And remember, it's very, very Borg-like idea. Remember, it's all about the collective and trying to get everyone to think the same way and work the same way. So when you assimilate that, if you were to need minutes with the first team, or if the first team needed you to come in to get minutes, they put you in the lineup, everything's fine. You're good. So you're seeing Tyler Young grow at right back. And a lot of folks were like, okay, he was a scorer in college. But Coach Cook was like, yeah, I think he can play right back. And you're seeing him continue to grow and evolve at that position so far this year. So, Gonzalo Pineda says there are at least half a dozen guys. Yeah, a few players deserving. I mean, we could probably go through the list and tell you why certain guys are deserving. Eric Lopez out, twisted an ankle in practice on Tuesday. The other updates, then they're going to sign Reyes to that 4-day hardship deal. The Quentin Westberg injury was a patella, basically your kneecap. Not serious, according to what Gonzalo Pineda said. Yakamaki's status for Nashville on the weekend will be decided later in the week. Westberg Yakamaki's not playing tonight. Neither injury is serious, according to Gonzalo Pineda. That was once again yesterday at the announcement. Open Cup history, according to Opta, MLS teams playing at home against lower league opposition have advanced 85.1% of the time, compared to just 58.8% on the road. So keep an eye on that. That's another number. But Westberg Yakamaki's not playing tonight. So that means it's Clement Diop. And neither injury serious. Vicente Reyes signed to a 4-day deal. Eric Lopez not playing, injured in practice yesterday. Miguel Berry recognized yesterday that when he was asked about it, that he needs to do better to get into shot-making positions from an offensive standpoint. But remember, also where Miguel Berry is concerned, you have to think about game state when he is called in. Is he in just to shut the door? But he did admit 2 shots, neither on goal, but he needs to do better in a shot-making opportunity to get into shot-making positions. So that's your injury update when it comes to Atlanta United. So on Wednesday, you're probably looking at, well, obviously you're looking at Clement Diop in net. Then you're looking probably, it will be interesting to see how first choice this goes and how much of it is mixed. So if Miguel Berry is up top, or is it Aruju and Chol and Caleb Wiley on the left wing to save Derek Etienne? And this is the other part in all of this. This is the other part of all of this, where you're looking at schedule compression, possibly. And Ricky, I would bet on this. I would bet that you may see this tonight. Luis Abram and Ronald Hernandez. I would imagine that is part of this. But remember, the lineups, you could have as many as 14 matches in the next 7 weeks. So what you're looking at is combinations of folks that are traditionally on the bench getting minutes. And then, like what we'll see sometimes in like an FA Cup kind of a situation, where, okay, I needed a goal in the last 30 minutes. Then you start seeing Morning Will. You start seeing the big guns come out with 30 to go, trying to push for a result against tired legs from the other team. So just keep in mind over the next 7 weeks through the middle of June, the possibility of 14 matches. You're going to see a lot of lineup orientation. You're going to see a lot of different faces, or at least you should. And this will be big on the this will be big on the conditioning. This will be big on physio department and monitoring all of the levels and all of the input that they get from all of their fancy computer devices, those kinds of things. So that's what you're looking at. And like I said, you're probably going to have some of the big names in the 18 probably not starting. But if there's a reason to activate them with 30 minutes to go or 20 minutes to go, give them a couple of minutes, shut the match down, that kind of a thing, then you'll see them. So that's what you're looking at. I know folks have put out lineups. I mean, you're probably going to see a Sejdic as your 6 maybe. Franco Ibarra getting some minutes to get back into game shape after the red card and the injury. So it will be interesting to see what this lineup looks like. But you figure because Miguel Berry was offered as a part of the interview process that Miguel Berry probably will be in the starting lineup. But once again, you get Berry, you've got Berry and Chol and Wiley and the first teamers that we're used to seeing. Then do you give Tyler Wolff some minutes? Like I said, you give Sejdic minutes because you know what he can give you in the midfield. Franco Ibarra needs the minutes to get back into game shape. And how is that ankle after the challenge in New York where he was carded and the other player had the card taken away? That's just me. Do you see Aiden McFadden? So, I mean, it'll be a lot of familiar names, and I think that the top guns will be on the bench to be brought in later, but we'll see what it looks like. It'll be very, very interesting to see what this looks like because, remember, schedule compression, that's going to be the phrase that pays until between now and, middle of June? Keep an eye on schedule compression. Lovely. Yes, and Will, 3 weeks from tomorrow, you're going to see lots of Huntsville faces. Yes, because Joe Davis is on the way to being turned into a stadium for Hunt City. And that reminds me at some point I need to grab my Soccernaut jersey from our friends at Olive in York who are bankrupting me. Parzival. What is the priority if we have to choose between Open Cup and League game for a better lineup the later we get into the 7 weeks? That's the question. I mean, League, you're still getting to the halfway point of the season. If you are chasing after an Open Cup title, all right, so let's look at the grid. Let's look at the grid here and see what the timeline is for determining semifinals and stuff like that. Let me see if I can, and if, Ricky, if you can get to it faster than I can, which is always the way that it usually happens, then we'll see what Ricky comes up with. U.S. Open Cup schedule 2023. Except when you have fat fingers and it tells you other things. All right, so Open Cup schedule and format. Let's see what our friends from U.S. Soccer have to say. They don't go any further than this round. That's not what I'm looking for. I need the Expando schedule. The Expando schedule. Okay, so round of 32 is a TBD. See, now this, you're not helping Open Cup. But traditionally, let's see if our friends at Wikipedia will help us out. Okay, the round of 16 and the quarterfinals get us through that period. All right, so here's your layout. Round of 16 is May 23rd and 24th. So basically in a month. Shouldn't affect you that much. Quarterfinals, June 6th and 7th. That gets you to and through that 7-week period. So you got a while because Leagues Cup shows up. Summer is here. The semifinals for Open Cup, and this is what Leagues Cup has done to this schedule this year. Quarterfinals, June 6, 7. That's a round of 8. June 6, 7, round of 8. You don't get your semifinals until August 23rd. I mean, yes, traditionally there is a rather long gap when it comes to deciding your Open Cup right in that area because there's usually something that will push the window a little further down. But all you got to do from an Open Cup perspective in the next 7 weeks, 2 games. You win tonight, it's 2 matches, the round of 16 and quarterfinals. And then, so that way, Open Cup having to focus on it in addition to your Major League Soccer schedule, not necessarily a factor. May 23rd, 24th, round of 16. Quarterfinals, June 6th, 7. That gets you to Leagues Cup. That gets you to the summer. August 23rd, your semis. Then a month later, September 27, that's your final. So that's what you're staring at here. So May 9, 10. May 23, 24. June 6, 7, August 23. So that's what you're staring at. So that's what you're looking at right here with U.S. Open Cup. Yeah, right now you're in the third round. So you're looking at round of 32, May 9, 10. And that's when you bring in the other teams from Major League Soccer. So May 9, 10, May 23, 24, June 6, 7. Sorry, it's 3 matches. So 3 matches you've got to be concerned with to get you to the summer. 24 winners from the third round. After tonight, 24 winners from the third round. The 4 MLS teams competing in Champions League and the 4 next best seeded MLS teams all come back in. So 3 matches between now and the summer. May 9, 10, May 23, 24, June 6, 7. So week on, week off, week on, week off. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to Open Cup. So 3 extra matches between now and summer. You get through those, then then that's what you're getting for. And yes, Will. Yes, happy action at the Fraction for those who celebrate. Happy action at the Fraction. Please help us out on Twitter and drive Jason crazy. Yes, and that is true as well, Ricky. Yes, the further you get into Open Cup, it becomes more of a priority. But think of it in stages right now. You win tonight. You've got the schedule for May 9, 10. So week off, week on. That's round of 32. Week off, May 23rd, 24th, round of 16. Week off, quarterfinals. Then you can catch your breath a little bit. So that's where you are. Let's see if we know who the ref is. Bam is asking a referee question. Let's see if our friends at Pro have posted the assignments. Other competitions. Let's see if the other competitions have been assigned by Pro. She believes World Cup, CONCACAF. That's not very nice. Does not appear. USL. So we do not. Okay, well, hang on. Let me see if I can find my game notes and see if we can find who might be assigned to this match, which would be an interesting. All right, match preview. Here we go. All right, we do have stats and things to go with. All right, so game notes. Yes, we do. Oh, this will be fun. Alexander Zhelyashkov is your referee. Brian Marshall, Jonathan Smith are your assistants. Kyle Johnston is your fourth. There is no VAR. So that's what you're staring at. Once again, obviously out, Ozzy and Brad. Franco Ibarra is questionable with the ankle. And then obviously Thiago with the lower leg injury and Gigi with the hamstring. So that's your game report. Zhelyashkov, Brian Marshall, Jonathan Smith, and Kyle Johnston. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to Atlanta United. That's your ref report. That's the crew. Ricky, talking about the Open Cup run. I think when we made the run to the title in 19, pretty much went first choice quarterfinal onward. Yeah, you were at that point. Bart, who's coming on at 10:30, by the way, getting in early shots. Think you can prioritize Open Cup because we started well enough in league we can afford a few bad results. However, the next round of the Open Cup is before the Charlotte match. Likely we would play a tougher team in Open Cup that week. So we'll see. But once again, what we get Let's see what happens with your brackets. See what happens with your group stage. Yes, and Bart, thank you. That's where I ended up getting the dates was Open Cup from our Bastion of Journalistic Integrity Wikipedia. Yes, Sean. Well, and speaking of which, yes, the Spurs still do suck. All right. Now oh yes, and this was early this morning, early this morning, from our friends at TalkSport. Mauricio Pochettino has reached a verbal agreement with Chelsea. TalkSport understands. Out of work since the end of last year, following the exit at PSG. Hoping to have the appointment fully wrapped up by the end of the week. Understood that Lampard will remain at the helm for the remainder of the campaign. Pochettino will be the one to move the club forward come next season. 5 years at Spurs, et cetera, et cetera. So it appears that we are this much closer to Mauricio Pochettino and Chelsea. So that's what we're looking at with former Spurs managers for 500. But yeah, that much closer to Chelsea. And yes. Yes, sorry, Sean. Yes, exactly. Yeah, we can't say that to Newcastle currently, can we, Alex? Bart, Atlanta United does have 3 midweek games in May, 10 matches in 6 weeks. Yeah. You could have 10 matches in 6 weeks. So once again, it is all about management. It is all about load management. It's all about figuring out who can go where. And you probably will see some squad rotation. Probably. I mean, definitely. Just to what level? You know, and to the point that Bart made. I mean, all right. So let's go ahead and play this out. Let's go ahead and play the schedule out. All right. So schedule. All right. So here's the schedule. I'm going through March and April. All right. So Memphis, Nashville gets us into May. So May 9-10 would be the round of 32. You would have played Inter Miami at DRVP&K on the 6th, turning around midweek to play Open Cup, then the match at home against Charlotte, then midweek at home against Colorado. Probably rotate out a little bit there. Then the 20th, you go to Soldier Field. 4 matches in 14 days, 2 full weeks. Then round of 16 Open Cup between the match in Chicago and the match against the Purple Team in Central Florida. Then you turn around and you would host New England at Mercedes-Benz on the 31st. That's your May. All things being equal, if you win tonight and continue to project out, you would end up with 8 matches in the month of May. 8 matches in a 25-day period. Basically 8 and 24, 8 and 25. So, we've said 8 and 25 in the month of May. Then you continue to project out, and it's survival by this point. You get to the quarterfinals, that's June 6, 7. You will have played LAFC in Los Angeles on June 3rd. Then you've got to go in midweek for the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup. I'm guessing that's first choice because you're at quarterfinals at that point. It's the last match in the Open Cup run for 2 months, 2.5 months, you're going to do it. Then do not be surprised if for the match in June, on the 10th at home against DC, you get some rotation because you're not playing for another 10, 11 days. So that's what you're staring at. That's what you're staring at. To get to June 10th, so what did we say? 11 matches from May 1st through June 10th. 11 matches in six-ish weeks. Not even, 5.5 weeks. Starting May 1st, May 6th. So that's what you're looking at. Yeah, Nick saw all those May Wednesday matches, morning four card. Did not like it. Yep. Bart looking at the calendar. Another event on a Wednesday. Counted it as an Atlanta United match. Yes. Tell me your life is soccer without telling me your life is soccer. Four card wants to go for the cup. Don't play it safe. Because remember, that gets you in the CONCACAF Champions League. CONCACAF Champions League, folks. That's what you're getting. Yes, Open Cup radial bracket. Bam. Be good. Get your rest. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. And yeah, Ricky, in the 10:30 segment with Bart, we will be discussing Bart's match today that has some meaning to some folks, especially those at the top of the table in the Premier League. We're gonna be getting into that. Yes, everyone should be allowed off today from 3 to 5 Eastern time. Yes, absolutely. And then 4 card with the additional element. FIFA U20 World Cup, Saturday, May 20 through Sunday, June 11. No Wiley then. But I think what that does, once again, on the left-hand side, it means Chol, Etienne, or Etienne, Chol, whatever combination you want, and any other pieces that you want to put forward. So, yeah, and the schedule is about to get real, no doubt. Like I said, between now and June 10th, between now and June 10th, it gets crazy. Once again, if you continue winning an Open Cup, it gets real, as 4 card says. It's real anyway. But you continue winning an Open Cup, it gets real. Ricky thinks that if Atlanta United makes the corners, you're punting the LAFC match. Are you punting that one, or are you punting DC because it's at home? You go first choice LAFC, figure it out. Almost like when, I don't know how many of you are tennis fans, but of a certain age. But there would be matches. I don't know how many of you watched Jimmy Connors play. But there would be times late in his career where if a set was going off the rails, and this is a 5-set match with Jimmy Connors, a 5-setter, and Jimmy Connors was up 2-1. If that 4th set got out of control, and I mean, he would be down early. I mean, he'd be down 3-0, 3-1 early in that 4th set. He'd tank and just get ready for the 5th set. He would just sit there. He'd be at the back, and he would just sit there, and he'd knock the ball around, and he wouldn't move, and he'd do whatever. Do you get to that point where you're where is that point in the schedule? It's like you got other stuff behind you. Where do you manage those? Where do you manage those matches? I think it's the Colorado match At home in May, I think in the middle of May, I think the Colorado match, you're going to see some rotation. And either in Chicago or Orlando, maybe, you get a mix and match because you want to be good for the New England match at the end of May. You want to be good for the Charlotte match early on in May. So you wonder if it's going to be for the Colorado match. It's probably for the Colorado match and maybe the Orlando match going into New England because that stretch of 4 matches in 2 weeks. Atlanta hosting Colorado, 5 in 2 weeks. At Chicago, Open Cup, at Orlando, back to host New England. You wonder which matches it's going to get rotated. But once again, this all comes down to what the physios say, what the computer readouts say, what those vests with the readouts on their backs have to say. But all things being equal, not knowing the physiological nature of it all. I'm looking at that Colorado match at home. I'm looking at one of the road matches. And I'm looking at DC. Because the DC match is at home, Colorado is at home, players sleeping in their own beds, doing their own thing. And that's what you're staring at. And Emilio, that LAFC match is a league match. It is a 10:30 late night BMO Stadium match on June 3rd. That is a late night match. That is MLS After Dark. At least for us. Wouldn't be MLS After Dark for them, considering that in June we're still looking for sunsets to be somewhere in there. But yeah, I'm looking at the DC match. I'm looking at one of those road matches, and I'm looking at Colorado. That's what I'm staring at. Parzival. Pineda very good at building out plans with the depth and knowing how to match up the younger players against bigger teams. Optimistic about it being a fun next few months, no doubt. Bart, if you've got a quarterfinal for Open Cup, I rotate against LAFC because you can play your strongest squad twice heading into the international break. Yeah, fallout from Leagues Cup. Bart, I think you can sacrifice league points during the 6 weeks, make them up after Leagues Cup. And that's the thing, is like you're going to be staring at situations, but that's what you do this season specifically. You got to bank points. And I know folks are banking points. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bank points right now and see if there can be times where you can have rotated squads and go up against competition which you think that you can have a different lineup, all those kinds of things. Brisket in the cup. Well, okay, that's good. Rather just concentrate on league. Yeah, Bart, he is. Wouldn't surprise me if you saw Ronald tonight. Punt LA. Everybody's saying punt the LAFC match. Send the two. Well, you can't send all of the twos, 4-card. There's only a certain amount of guys that you can have on emergency call-ups. So you'd have to kind of keep an eye on that. Everybody's saying punt the LAFC match because it's at the other end of the planet. And you're coming off of New England. See, and this is the killer part. Because in that week, it is at Orlando, home to New England, at LAFC. That week in and of itself is nuts. Rival on the road, top in the standings in the East, 2 teams here at Mercedes-Benz, and then out to LA before what would supposedly be another Open Cup match, which would be your quarterfinal. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but this is kind of giving the context of the scheduling that you're having to sit there and play with and go, damn, man, there's a lot going on. So, yeah, Sean understood where I was going here with the Jimmy Connors analogy. If you're down 2 breaks to serve in a set, yep, go ahead. Yep, get the set, just go, and just, yield it and then go to the next set. Don't worry. And Will, you're not alone. Will wants all the trophies. He doesn't care about the plates. That Captain America looking shield thing. I know a lot of folks aren't looking at that going, yeah, whatever. League Cup group stage knockouts during the season. Yeah, first ever. LAFC is a league. Should try to keep from a draw against New England at home. Rotate against the Western team. Rich'd still punt it. Fancy friendly trophy. Not prioritizing Western Conference games over Eastern Conference games. Ricky. No. And no, Abby, thank you. No. The famous guard dog heard the handyman out back working on a couple of the houses, and so he instantly makes sure that everything is safe. That's what you heard with the rowdy butt. Yeah, someone on your side of the screen is also giving their prediction. Yes, the meat of the schedule. Open Cup and MLS have to figure out who gets a CCL bid because we win both. Parzival's all fired up. But the LAFC game all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Well, that's not far. I mean, Forecard from their location of BMO Stadium, it's not a far punt. I mean, getting to make the punt, that's a long trip. The punt itself from BMO Stadium to the Pacific, not that far. The travel to make the punt to put the ball in the Pacific Ocean, that's the long part. Sean, I have tickets to the LAFC game. I'm now about to sell them. Oh boy, I can't quite. Well, but I mean, honestly, hang on to them. Hang on to them. Just hang on. You're okay. We don't know how it's going to lay out. And yeah, well, but I mean, Sean, if you're in Los Angeles and you have the chance to play some of those courses, because when I go out and go visit family, I play. Well, I mean, look, I mean, for me, honestly, Will, if I'm going to pair up with friends, I might play some actual courses. But when I go out west, I play cow pastures because it fits just more what I want to do. And the hotel that I stay at has its own on-campus course, and I'll play there, and it's always fun to do that. But traditionally, don't cancel all that stuff yet. And Michael, that is a good question, and we probably should have it at Stone Mountain. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. When did they switch, Will? When did they switch from the old supporter shield that was an actual trophy to the plate that has an image of said trophy? I don't know. I do not know. That's a good question. Parzival, are we playing for a first round bye for MLS or just a home match? That, I believe, is the deciding factor the farther we get into Open Cup. That's I mean, much like what was said earlier by Will, you want to win everything. And just kind of do the best that you can and go as far as you can and then figure it out. Abby has a wedding to be at in San Diego the weekend before and was considering staying the week, but now want to be home for the New England midweek game. The Philly thing was because they couldn't get the real shield there in time, so they used the Captain America shield. Okay. Well, still, it was a bit of an imaginative element there that was attached to it. So, good on them. Good on them and good work. So that's what you're staring at with all of that stuff. But remember, this is when the business end of the schedule really picks up between now and Leagues Cup, say late June. This is the business part of the schedule. I mean, but then you go through June, and then it kind of, and after that 11-day international window, then things kind of pick up, and we go from there. Since it's 10 o'clock, I don't know what Muggy's got today, but we will certainly figure it out. And we are going to test technology and bring in this guy since it's the top of hour number 2. Dylan Butler with us. So what is the mug, by the way, Dylan?
Goldfish.
Yes, since episode 7 of season 3 is out, and we have been basically sworn by everyone not to give spoilers under any
no spoilers,
or any auspice of the situation. So how was the high schooling and getting prepared for multiple championships all at the same time, sir?
No, just games. Didn't have any championships, but yeah, multiple, a lot of games, a lot of games. I had two on Saturday. In between the two games on Saturday, I did some prep for my game on Monday. So MLS shift. Yeah, busy times.
All right. So now that you've gotten everything so what matches did you get to cover this past weekend when we were staring at Major League Soccer?
I was on Sunday, so I had the Atlanta Chicago, and then it's just sort of like a potpourri on Saturday. Mostly like 8:30 and later matches.
Okay. So since you volunteered it, what did you think about the Atlanta match and its inherent craziness, as Jarrett Smith adds to the conversation? The inherent craziness once again of Atlanta United. What'd you think?
It was funny because I was like, all right, 1-0, it is what it is. And then, yeah, and then it kind of went off the rails late, didn't it? It was a pretty crazy one for sure. But I mean, look, it's not every game isn't going to be super aesthetically pleasing. It's not going to be the beautiful game all the time. But it's 3 points, right? And like, maybe this is a game a year ago that's a tie, or somehow ends up being a loss, or something happens in stoppage time against Atlanta. So, again, from a neutral, I have no support and either side. I think it was the right result. And again, I think you just kind of take it for what it was. An ugly win is still a win.
There you go. Jarrett Smith for Dylan Butler. Good morning, Jarrett.
Good morning. Everything is chaos. Act accordingly. Good Lord. Getting out from Atlanta for a second. It looks like, and we talked about teams last time you joined us before your schedule just went completely off the rails.
Yeah.
We had talked about some of the coaches that were struggling early in the season, and I know they scored, I think, 3 goals last night, but Sporting Kansas City, I mean, if anybody in the country needed a result like last night in the Open Cup, it might have been them. Are they capable, you think, of actually getting this thing not even turned around, but just stabilized?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the right answer. I mean, look, you get, think about it last night. You get goals from Gadi Kinda and you get a goal from Alan Polito, right? I mean, like, I think we need Opta to figure out the last time those two guys scored in a match together, right? Because we know it was 2 years ago for Polito. So that was probably the last time those two guys scored, both battling injuries. And we've said it before, like, Sporting's been one of those teams, especially to key guys, that have really been hampered by injuries. Portland's another, but that being said, still, they didn't do a good job, a good enough job, or a good job at all, really, of realizing that they were getting old, and then kind of fixing that, right? Like, so I think they realized it too late, and then the fixes haven't been good since. So, can they rectify this? Remains to be seen. I mean, like, MLS is a crazy forgiving league, right? If you can win 3 matches in a row, say, suddenly you're back in the mix, right? So I don't think the odds are in their favor, though, especially when you consider some of the other teams in the West and what they're doing, and their level of consistency as well. I think you've got 2 of the most consistent teams in Seattle and LAFC, and now St. Louis doing what they're doing. So I think, who's dropping points to also allow you to move up the table is as big a question as, can you get the points too?
So, there've been a lot of coaches that we have either put on the hot seat or, put them on the stove and not quite turned the stove on yet. There are coaches that I guess are being added. Inter Miami is, debating, do we add Neville to this mix? Do we add Latanzio and Charlotte? Where are we right now with coaches that are hot seated, who got reprieves, who got the phone call from the warden? What are we looking at here from your point of view?
Or the dreaded vote of confidence, right? Those are always the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
That's when you know that guy's right out the door next.
Vote of confidence. Yes, we believe in what he's doing. I give him the vote of confidence.
Right. Then the next day the email comes. They parted ways.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, look, it's fair to say with Neville, right? Because of the ambition there, because of where they thought they'd be at this point. I don't know if it's. Do you say that the Joseph experiment is at a failure? It's certainly not working.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's too early to give a final grade on that, but yeah, I mean, think about this too. If they lose in a Miami derby tonight, right? Like it's pretty hot in South Beach. It'll get a little bit hotter, I think, for Neville. So I think he's right there. Vermees is an interesting case because, again, we've said it numerous times, right? But he's his boss too.
Yeah.
So like who's handling that? You know, like the ownership. I don't know if there's enough pressure there on him for his job. Vanny, I think he was another one too who maybe was in that mix. You know, one guy that, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's too early to put him there, but his body of work isn't very good. It's Losada, right? Like, now, again, he understandably the best players that Montreal had a year ago are not there.
Yeah.
That being said, he didn't get the job done in DC, and they ended up getting a win over the Red Bulls, but outside of that, he's not looked good there. And then I don't know, do you put Struber there?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a possibility. I know certainly there's a little bit of a PR nightmare, I think, and all the fans are upset just about the whole situation and how he handled it. And then on top of the results aren't there. So I probably put that grouping of I don't know, is it warm, lukewarm to hot seats right now?
I mean, yeah, that's what we're staring at.
And I guess to not bring you on just to be the hangman or the executioner.
Oh, come on!
Let's go the other.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, let's go the other direction with it. You know, we're about a quarter of the way through the season now. We're getting to that point where small sample sizes are becoming significant enough where you can start making judgments. Who's been your biggest pleasant surprise of the season?
Well, you know what I like to. I think Wilfred Nancy. We know, like, sometimes you're not sure about how good a coach is until you see them with another team and another setup, another set of players. And I think the proof is that he's a good coach, right? And like, you could see why Columbus made as big a bid for him as they could and really pushed to get him. So I don't know if I'd call it a surprise, but I think it's validation, right? It's good validation to see what he's done from Montreal now to Columbus. I don't know if there's any other surprises.
Well, but how much of a surprise was Carnell in St. Louis to you?
I think he's a good coach. I think in that system, like he fits that system, right? Like, he knows, like, if you've got a specialty as a chef, right? And like, if you're, I don't know, if you're great at making pasta bolognese,
yeah.
and that's your thing, right? And so exactly the ingredients, it perfectly. And I think he perfectly fits this system, and I think he did a really good job at Red Bull. And it's funny now because probably Red Bull fans are like, "Hey, can we? I wish we had him back right now." But I think he was also set up really well for success, right? And all the reasons that we've said before, where they, they got him in early. They got the players in early, right? They got, and I think that's something that I think is super important, right? Like these are guys who are coming from Europe, and you see it in Atlanta, you see it everywhere, right? There's an acclimation process, and there's no, it's not an exact science, right? Some guys, it takes them pretty quickly to get acclimated to a new environment, new culture, and everything. Other guys sometimes never do. So to get the group together, to get a bond going, even before preseason, I think was super important too. So they knew the way they were going to play. They got to know each other, and I think Carnell in that system fits it perfectly. So I wouldn't say that I'm surprised. I mean, look, yeah, everyone's surprised by the level of success that St. Louis is having, but I'm not surprised that he's succeeding in that system.
So for the conversation that I know I've seen a lot in the last few weeks with what's gone on in Red Bulls and Carnell doing that in St. Louis. I mean, is it unfair to play full revisionist history and look hindsight that New York didn't give him the job? Was it just at the moment? I know you're getting Struver, who had a bigger CV when he came in. I mean, is it just kind of an unfair revisionist history, or do you think it's a fair criticism that they didn't give him the gig at the time?
Good question. I know what Red Bull fans will say, but
yeah, I mean, it's easy to say now, is why I asked.
Sure, no, 100%. And who's to say with the personnel that they had? Yes, he's a system guy, but maybe the pieces weren't as good or fitting as well. I mean, who knows, right? Like if he could have easily been in a similar boat. I'm not, who's to say that he's going to take this current group of Red Bull players to the level of success that he's got in St. Louis. So I don't think it's apples for apples, certainly, but yeah, I mean, maybe they should have given him another shot, right? We've heard Jesse March talk about him and laud him on MLS 360, I think 2 match days ago, for all the reasons. He was that Red Bull way. He was that Red Bull guy, the Red Bull system. So yeah, maybe punted on him a little bit early is a fair criticism.
All right. So what do you think about the new sporting director for U.S. Soccer, since we've kind of gone down this road a little bit? Crocker is now in, and he gets to determine who the new head coach is going to be for the men's national team. Yeah,
and it sounds like too, based on a little bit of what he was saying, I don't think it's going to be his decision solely, right? But he's ultimately the guy in charge. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel strongly either way. I do like, he's a guy who's built things, right, with Southampton and the youth set up there, and it's a very young, on the men's side at least. And again, he's obviously in charge of not just the U.S. men's national team, but that is the biggest job right now that's out there to be had, the head coach. So yeah, I think, I don't hate it. I'm not like, I didn't know enough about him before his hire to say he's the absolute guy for it. I do like a few things that he was saying though about, like saying that guy doesn't have to live in Chicago, right? Like I thought that was always so silly. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, look, we have this conversation, this spot every week, right? I'm not in Atlanta, you're not in New York, right? We can get it done.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit silly to make it so corporate and like we have to be in a conference room in Chicago and you've got to live in Chicago. Like, he did say obviously that, that person would have to be there, but a significant amount of time, but it wouldn't have to live there. So I think that's a positive to hear from that. But also, I mean, it sounds like he's hitting the ground running. He's starting to maybe talk to candidates or work out a list. But it also doesn't sound like it's going to be anytime soon, right? Like he doesn't begin full time until August.
Yeah,
I think so. It would seem like Anthony Hudson has a little bit more of an opportunity here, maybe to impress as the interim in a couple competitions.
That's a good point, too. That he continues to just kind of get these games and just kind of building his resume. I guess not even if it's not for U.S. Soccer. I've wondered if if this is going to be something where he's going to try and parlay this, and maybe something to MLS, maybe something Europe in another division, kind of thing. Of
another national team, who knows, right? For sure.
Maybe a smaller national team gig or maybe an equal national team gig. Just take the opportunity that you get at the moment. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say. So you're in charge.
I am.
You're in charge. You and Crocker are in a room. You and Crocker.
Are we both in Chicago?
Yes. Yes.
We had to relocate you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. You've got to be relocated. So the black helicopters have already come out. And there's a thought that Crocker interviewing Marsh for the Southampton gig was a dry run.
I like it.
For interviewing him for the men's national team gig. You know what you're getting with Jesse Marsh. You've already interviewed him. You know, it's like, okay, I know what he's bringing philosophically, stylistically, whatever. How much credence do you think that there is in that notion of the black helicopters where Crocker and Marsh already have that relationship, and that Jesse Marsh, where Crocker is concerned, is already at the head of the line?
And that was a relatively recent interview, right?
Yeah.
So obviously then we are led to believe, I mean, Crocker didn't just interview 3 days ago for this job and killed it, right? So he's been in this mix. So maybe maybe at least part of that conversation, right, was listen, I'm interviewing for this, take your temperature here. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
I've said, listen, I've said it. I've been pretty consistent saying it. I think he should be the guy. So I said it when we talked. I think it was early in qualifications, right? There were some issues, and there was, U.S. Soccer Twitter, which is so even keeled.
Yes, it is absolutely correct. Yes,
was calling for Berhalter's head, and I thought Marsh would have been the guy. And even at the time too, I was like, but then again, he's always wanted to coach in Europe. He maybe wants to see this Leeds thing through. Obviously now he's out there, he's available.
And that's and if it goes down that road, I mean, I know we had the reports, like a couple of months ago. I'm sorry, I've lost track of time because U.S. Soccer exists in its own universe with its own time-space continuum.
Yes.
But there were the rumors about Jim Curtin being a part of that staff.
He's even said that too, right? That he would be. I forgot the words he used exactly, but like he'd be interested or keen or flattered to do that as well. And think about it too. You can, I don't know, if you continue with this thought process, right? Like, you don't even have to bring Curtin in right away. Like, maybe give him this season, right? Maybe see out this Philly thing and see what they can do this year, and then bring him on after.
Yeah.
As far as other coaches in U.S. Soccer, are we, and not for this cycle necessarily, but maybe for the 2030 cycle, if he keeps doing things in LA, do we need to start having Steve Cherundolo conversations?
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's a, I think he's even, Curtin, Cherundolo, Bruce Arena. No, I'm just kidding.
Marsh. Yeah, I mean, Curtin, Cherundolo, Marsh, I think is 1, 2, and 3.
Yes. Yeah, that's your trifecta right now.
Just hire them all. Just have them all on the same staff, and the rest of Major League Soccer can sit there and go, we don't have to worry about Philly or LAFC or anything like that.
By the way, completely unrelated. It was I was so fortunate to be on. I love being on these post-game press conferences with Bruce Arena when he's got something to be upset about. And every time I think about his quote about VAR when he called it phony baloney, it was one of my favorite quotes of the year. I laugh out loud every time I hear it. I loved writing that. I loved putting that in the headline. It was just pure brilliant. And it's funny, right? Because like I feel like Bruce Arena arguing and complaining about officiating. And by the way, he got the referee, the fourth official, VAR. I think the only ones he left out were like the two ARs. Like they were safe from his post-match criticism. Like he almost got every single official that was involved in that match. And then he gives you the phony baloney, which is such a great kind of old man quote, right? Like,
it's the most Bruce Arena thing he could have said.
Oh, it's great. But then it's funny, right? Then you hear other coaches complain, and you're like, they're just whining. Like everybody but Bruce. Like Bruce, you accept it, right? And you love it, and you kind of embrace it. And then everyone else is like, come on, man, stop whining.
Well, I mean, is that a thing where we just let the older folks and the legends sit there and let them have it because that's just Bruce, that's just him.
But even Vermees was complaining the other day. Like he's best. Vermees is great on the sideline, right? Like you get the faces from him.
Oh yeah,
but then post match, he just seems like he's whining. Josh Wolf sounds like he's whining. But Bruce, you're like, give me more of that. That's fantastic.
Oh man.
And speaking of Austin, what the hell?
Yes.
What is it? Where is the switch to flip from broken to fixed for an Austin team that was in a Western Conference final last year?
Just need to unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah, man. Do we need to cycle power on this thing?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And they're just not scoring goals. Have they been too Driussi centered, right? Like, yeah. and I've always thought too, like they did a great job getting him. A few other pieces I thought were really good, but like they're still very much an incomplete team. Like other signings, like the number 9 position has been not very good. Right? Like, and to say that Zardes was an upgrade of what you had doesn't necessarily say a lot. So, they're not, teams are figuring out how to play your best guy and your other guys aren't up to that level. And it's obviously an issue. It's been an ongoing issue, but I think it's coming to light even more now.
Yeah, I mean, and when you have these clubs like an Austin, like a Nashville, where you have that one focal point. With Austin, it's Driussi, and the supporting cast, they're trying to figure out who it was. It's not Max Cerruti this year, that's for certain. And in Nashville, it's been Hani Mukhtar, and you're trying to find a number 2, and they haven't been able to find a number 2, and it's these teams.
It's also not CJ Sapong anymore.
That is, and that is true. And Atlanta fans were incredibly grateful because since he was traded to Toronto, they've already played Toronto this year, and they don't get him with Nashville either. And so you trade for a defender who had.
He's on that Kai Kamara track, isn't he? CJ
yeah.
Sapong.
Yes.
He's going to play for everyone and score against
all the
everyone.
Teams, yeah.
And you end up with this thing where, you trade for a defender who I think almost had 2 own goals in back-to-back weeks, and Lucas McNaughton, trying to get help at the back. And we made the point that if anybody can try and fix a defender, Gary Smith might be the guy to do it. But these single focus teams trying to find that second guy are the ones that are better than average, but they're having problems, and you don't see a whole lot of a shelf life for them past that opening round of the playoffs. Austin, yeah, okay, they're good. Nashville, yeah, okay, they're good. But these teams need to find support for these stars that basically, if you sit there and you pin and double team these guys, it's going to be difficult for them to get out of whatever round they're in. You see these single star teams, and you see the problems that are attached.
And then look at the other side of it, the better team in the league, right? Like LAFC.
Mm-hmm.
How many different weapons do they have in attack?
Very imaginative salary cap. John Thorrington is turning into a salary cap wizard.
Even here with NYCFC, right, there was a big question, like, who's the number 9? What's going to happen? And suddenly Santi Rodriguez plays a false 9, and maybe he's the answer, right? You move Talis Magno out of that position, and there's also multiple guys that can score goals there. And even for as bad as the Galaxy are, it's not like they're just reliant on Chicharito, right? Like, they've got Jovic, they've got Puig, so like there's multiple guys there too. But you can't, obviously, in this league, you can't rely on that one guy. Not to have any sustained success, that's for sure.
Well, I don't know why. Just go get yourself a Yorgos. Solving our problems. Keeps blowing his hamstring out in the 60th minute, but it's solving the problems for 59 and a half minutes.
Yes, that is absolutely true. We got you for another couple of minutes. What's your thoughts on Open Cup in general?
I love it. Like I love it. I'm a romantic about cup competitions. Like, I love those early matches in England where it's like, the small grounds. You see the guy with the, holding his dog outside the fence, and it holds like 400 people, but there's a pub there, and the goalie is also the cab driver. Like, I love those kind of stories. I think it's the magic kind of the Open Cup here at the Open Cup, or cup competitions in general. So I love it. I like that there's still, you've got to attach something more than winning the cup on it, and they do with the Champions League spot. So I think as long as that's attached, I think there's that incentive for MLS teams. I'm a fan of it. I hope it continues. I wished it was more like this whole thing last night with like multiple streams and different levels of streams. Like the Charlotte one, I was like,
yeah,
I swear it was somebody with a cell phone just like putting on Instagram Live or something. It was
in 2006. Yes.
Yeah, it was not.
Yeah,
it was not what I would call good.
I
wish there was more of just one central location for all of that. Again, I think there was before, but I don't know why this year that's not the case. So it's on Golasso, it's on BR Football YouTube, it's on team sites. Like, it's hard to find. Like, you don't. It's a hard enough like, it's a tough sell for the regular fan on a weeknight when you know it's your reserves. And it's another then to say, oh yeah, by the way, we don't know where this game's going to be on tonight. And I think there's some that aren't even going to be broadcast tonight. So that's not good. But I thought it was fun last night. Like, I was on last night as well. I picked the 2 cup sets I picked did not pan out. I picked Minnesota for a cup set, and I picked Sporting, which, I mean, that's an easy one, right? I guess. But it took until, past midnight for us to get that cup set. And it was San Jose. And it was Frankie Yallop to do it. How cool was
that? Hey, to be fair, the Minnesota one looked good for about 50 minutes.
Yeah. It really did. It did. And that was, how cool was that scene too, right? Like the train coming by, like, by the way, I used to, as a quick aside, there's this incredible soccer field in Queens. It's called the Met Oval. It's a historic, look it up. It's sunken down.
Ooh.
And on the one side, it has this incredible view of the New York City skyline. It's in Maspeth, Queens, the Metropolitan Oval. But on the side of it, on one side are houses, like row houses. And on the other side is just like train tracks, So I would be there for games like PDL games, like Brooklyn Knights and Vermont. I forgot the name of the Vermont team. But it was like early, old school PDL. And the guy for Vermont, it was like he was the owner, but also the center forward, also the general manager, right? He was the coach. He was like the Mr. Everything for them. And he was so upset about a missed call, I think, on a goal. He took the ball from the opening kickoff and just punted it onto the train tracks. So now you're like, all right, let's get another ball. So he gets another ball, puts it back, punts that one to the train tracks. So yeah, he got sent off. And I don't know if the balls were ever retrieved because they went to the train tracks.
Awesome.
And then on the other side, when balls would go to the houses, there was one homeowner who would just collect the balls and then sell them back.
Oh, very nice.
to the club. It was the home of the Brooklyn Knights for, maybe still is, but Met Oval. It's such a fantastic location.
Very cool. And I'm looking at a picture now, so I get what you're coming from. Very, very cool looking place. What's going on in the world of Dylan Butler we need to know about?
Yeah, no, I got a lacrosse game tonight. East Islip and Smithtown West. So a lot of directional lacrosse going on there with West and East. And it's probably about a 7 or 8 minute drive for me, which is nice.
Yes.
Next town over. And then I've got a really cool one on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to miss that early kickoff in MLS, but I've got what they call the Woodstick Classic. It's Garden City and Manhasset. It's the 139th edition of this game. They don't actually play with the Woodsticks. They did, obviously, at one point. But yeah, and then it's more MLS on Saturday and Sunday. And looking forward to tonight as well with I'll get to it late after my game, but looking forward to some Philly LAFC. More magic from those two.
There you go. Dylan Butler at Dylan_Butler on the Twitters. Dylan, we'll catch up with you next week, my friend. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, Dylan Butler. Hot change, hot tag. It's time for Bart Keeler's group therapy session.
Good morning.
On a scale of 1 to 10, sir, with this match that is coming up today, that some folks will be watching for various reasons, your level of confidence in your squad today would be what?
Oh, I mean, I think if you're looking at this match, Atlanta United should smash Memphis. So, confidence is through the roof.
Very well played. Very well played. Yes. See, I set myself up because my mother, the English major, would have absolutely killed me because of a lack of modifiers there. So you come on, for those who are watching live on Twitch and are not partaking in the taped audio version, which obviously will be out before the match. You are dialed up in your Arsenal gear. You are wearing the Arsenal jersey. You have your Arsenal mug with your morning beverage. And you are prepared for a particular match this afternoon before the match this evening at the Fraction. And by the way, please use Action at the Fraction as a hashtag so we can all drive Jason crazy. Level of confidence, sir, with a 5-point lead and 2 more matches played than the blue team that you'll be facing this afternoon, sir.
I mean, here's the struggle I've had over the past, 4 weeks? Is Arsenal has outplayed, outside of like the second half of the Liverpool match, outplayed their opponents and been, frankly, unlucky to not win. If we can continue that performance level, I don't see why a draw tonight is not, feasible. And if you get a draw tonight, I feel very confident, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's a loss, then my confidence is completely shot. But I feel confident that the team will be able to play well. Obviously, this dip in form is very much tied to William Saliba's absence from the back line. We've conceded 7 goals in 3 games. That is a problem. We know that Man City likes to score. They have a guy up front who's a robot who only knows how to score. But maybe tonight's the night that they actually have a slip up. They have been on a tear, and they are backed by blood money, literally, and that's good for them. They're able to buy those players, and they have a manager who is smart enough to use them well. On the other hand, Arsenal is actually trying to play soccer the right way, with the building an academy system, building up players that they bring in, and it's worked so far. I feel confident that we can get a draw. Let's just put it that way.
I appreciate the fact that I won't get a sunburn sitting under all this shade you were providing. It's a very nice feeling. So how close did you come to dying last week? Because everyone, friends of mine,
very close, Jarrett.
I have other friends who are Arsenal fans, and I texted them as the game ended, and all of them sent various versions of, I can't live my life like this.
The problem was that this was supposed, like, the problem with the Southampton match is that was supposed to be the easy one, right? And you come out with Aaron Ramsdale completing the dumbest pass a goalkeeper's ever tried, and it just completely flips everything on its head. Those are the little things that are not going in our favor right now, right? Hopefully we clean that up tonight. But yeah, I mean, the two draws that you had after leading 2-0 suck, but it happened. Like, it does happen. Obviously, one of those to a Liverpool team that had an immense amount of help from the referees, and the other one, was just unfortunate that you were unable to secure a win when you had chances to. Again, I think Bukayo Saka took notes from Luis Araujo's penalty kick taking strategy, and that's probably a bad idea. Who, by the way, should not be an Atlanta United player by the end of the year. That's my hot take of the morning.
There you go.
But the Southampton match was supposed to be your easy one. And that should be, we should be 7 points clear right now. And this match shouldn't be as important as it. I mean, it's still massive. Like, obviously, this match was not going to be any less important necessarily, but it should have not been as vital. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and you mentioned dying 1,000 deaths. Then you've got what we had with Atlanta United this past weekend, where for the
I don't know what team that was, John, but it didn't look like Atlanta United. Let's be real honest.
Well, and for the second time this season, Atlanta United scores a goal at 90+9, and they're 2 goals at 90+9 in a year. And that had not happened in the previous 14 years combined in Major League Soccer.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah,
I've been at 2 games doing media this year. It was the San Jose game, and it was this one. You're welcome.
Well, thank you for your sacrifice, Jarrett.
I only bring dread and chaos and stupidity with me.
I do have a question though, because this is the legit concern coming out of that Chicago game. Why does Franco Ibarra become brain dead when Santiago Sosa is also on the field with him?
Oh man, I think it's the rule of the 2 Siths.
So for those of us who are not Star Warsian, could you please explain?
Well, I mean, there's 2 Siths, but you can only you have a master and apprentice, but you can't have 2 masters. The apprentice has to kill the master. I think this means Franco Ibarra has to kill Santiago Sosa, or try and die trying. He has to succeed or die, but they can't exist together for an extended period of time.
It's really frustrating because I do think part of it has to do with Santiago Sosa is probably we should just keep him to be the Miles Robinson replacement, because I think he does work best as a deeper lying player. Maybe you just convert him to a center back.
I mean, what we saw in the Toronto match was, I think, the Santi Sosa that we've been waiting to see for quite some time.
Sure. And then you put Franco Ibarra on the field, and they suddenly don't know how to play soccer, either one of them. And that is truly a concern, because in theory, those 2 players should be able to exist together. But they just forget positional awareness, first touch awareness, how to pass a ball, because it was bad. Also, it definitely, I think this is my excuse to the Chicago match, because I think, not an excuse, and I hate to use that word, but this is your excuse of why we did not play well. We had a lot of players look like they hadn't touched a ball in about 2 weeks. And when you look at our training reports for the past 2 weeks, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I mean, Franco, I don't know if he really played much soccer since getting that red card against New York City, because James Sands, you should have stuck with his yellow card, also put in a hard tackle against him.
This is what I'm saying.
The picture of that is still amazing. When you go back and look at the slowdown and realize the only reason there was a situation like that is because James Sands was clumsy and kicked the ball with his plant foot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Abby, I didn't say Sosa played poorly. I said when Ibarra came on the field, it was really bad because I don't know.
So you're saying it's like matter and antimatter?
Yes.
But when they play like in a single pivot, as we use the word,
they're both fantastic. They're both individually great.
When we use what's apparently a bad word for some people to run a single pivot, but yeah, Ibarra had been one of the best sixes in the league early in the season. Mm-hmm. He was just chugging along.
Yeah.
Sosa, to y'all's point, when Sosa played against Toronto, when he played against Chicago, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. Together, oh boy.
Yeah. But to the point that Will makes, if Sands doesn't hit it with his plant foot, Franco gets the ball first.
Yeah, I mean, look, I said it was a red card on Franco Ibarra. Like, it's unfortunate that happens, but it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
I'm just making a point that Ibarra and Sosa seemingly cannot exist on the same field together, and that's really frustrating because those are two players who, in their own individual right, are very good and have been good for us. We need them to be able to exist together, because you can't. And I thought Rossetto was decent, but I don't think he is I'm not a fan of Matheus Rossetto. I think I would like him more if he passed the ball forward, maybe. But it still becomes something that you can't have him as well with those guys, because then we're just not doing any sort of real progressive passing. Anyway. It looked like we had a lot of guys who hadn't touched the ball for a while. That's probably true with GG, probably true with Almada, probably, who looked, again, like he hasn't touched the ball in a while. Franco also looked that way.
Ezra Hendrickson made the point in the post-game press conference that what they wanted to do was make life difficult for Thiago Almada, considering he wasn't 100%. You make life difficult for him.
Yep.
Then all of the after effects after that initial decision, you saw what Chicago was able to do defensively, especially in the second half.
And I think Chicago surprised us with that super high intense press, especially with the midfield that they put out there. But look, you got to win when you probably shouldn't have, and you lost in Toronto when you probably shouldn't have, or you drew in Toronto when you probably shouldn't have drawn. It's MLS. You take it, you move on. You don't complain. So.
Nope, that is absolutely true. And the point, Jarrett, in hour number one, we got into a really big discussion about Open Cup. And while we do know that, yes, tonight there is a hashtag action at the Fraction involving the Atlanta United of the Mississippi River and Atlanta United. It was the idea of Gonzalo Pineda knowing that schedule compression from hell is coming, especially as you continue to work your way through the schedule to where you could have, I want to say, 8 matches in the month of May. You could have another 3, and then you're trying in June, getting your way to that international window in mid-June, and trying to balance out the time between there and now. What, as long as your successes continue in Open Cup, where do you sit there and look at your schedule and go, okay, I'm going to punt this one because I value Open Cup? All these kinds of questions are coming up in short order, and May is going to be a hellacious month for a lot of teams who are involved in Open Cup and trying to stay at the top of the standings in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all the teams handle this. San Jose doesn't have that problem anymore because they spit the bit last night in Open Cup, but other clubs are still involved. They're going to have to balance that. They're going to have to balance Bart's favorite upcoming tournament as well with Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that we don't have to play other matches alongside of that, Jarrett.
Yeah,
at least it is in a silo on its own, and we don't have to use that. Although I wouldn't have minded if it was just some random midweek stuff. But anyway, yeah.
Hey, we'll see. Man, we don't even know what Miami's going to look like by that point.
Jarrett, listen, this is my thing. Miami cannot fire Phil Neville until after we play them. Because I've had with Arsenal too many bad lucks with the new manager bounce. Yeah, exactly. Like, fire him after we've beaten them at home. maybe we'll get a penalty call this year.
Maybe a Miami player will actually get sent off for punching a player like they did with John Gallagher. Where they weren't set off. VAR looked at it and they didn't send him off for punching him in the face.
Yeah, Luis Figal punches John Gallagher. We're good.
That game still aggravated me. If for no other reason, you got like LGP on a yellow card in like the 30th minute, and then you didn't really run at him the rest of the match.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Good.
So I mean, this is going to be an interesting. I mean, Gonzalo Pineda mentioned it. You could have 14 matches in 7 weeks, and it's going to be an interesting challenge for your roster for this time frame.
I think we've kind of, as a fan base, I don't think Pineda thinks this way necessarily, but I think he probably is in a little bit. But I think as a fan base, at least in this chat here, we deduce that you kind of just punt those Western Conference matches because you can rotate against Colorado at home and still probably be able to score on them. They haven't been great in any capacity this year. And if you lose to LA at LA with the rotated squad, we'll forget that by the time the playoffs come. And those, while the Colorado match specifically is a great way to pick up points, it's not going to really hurt you because you're not losing points or anything to a conference team. My other thought is that we've banked a lot of points already. We've gotten some results that maybe we shouldn't have actually got, which again, you take them, don't complain, you move on. There's an opportunity whenever you can prioritize Open Cup in the sense that you're going to try to win the game in front of you, while also understanding that you have more games around it. But if you have to sacrifice a game or two without your best 11 in May, you're going to have plenty of time in August, September, and October to make up for it because it's MLS.
Okay, Jarrett, what do you think?
I mean, ultimately, yeah, you will be. You'll have plenty of time to figure all of this out. The impressive thing is going to be when somebody attempts to win all of the tournaments and then they just drop dead in the playoffs because they've run themselves into the ground. Their legs literally fall off like the Tin Man. We have to carry them around. That'll be the fun moment. Bart, we've been meaning to ask you this as well because we all have been having this moment where we think we are crazy about the Atlanta-Chicago game in the moment where Giakoumakis gets elbowed in the side of the head and nothing happens. Are we
I was
crazy?
shocked that wasn't actually reviewed.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I get if you miss him on the field, but
yeah, because I think in live action, a referee. I mean, granted, my view is like literally behind the goal, so I was able to see it, but the referee's not able to fully see all of that. The referee can dismiss it as when you go out for a header, you definitely bring your arms up to protect yourself or whatever. It wasn't that problematic in the moment. But two things that bothered me. One, it was a head injury. Play should have been stopped sooner. Two, Victor Rivas should have gone to the monitor, I think, to just look. And I'm not quite sure where VAR thought that wasn't a clear and obvious error when a guy threw an elbow. I mean, it's just what happened. Again, in live action, you can excuse it as, he was just going up for a header, but that wasn't what happened. And because it doesn't matter if it was a foul or not, or where it was the foul, because if it's in the penalty area or out, the game-changing decision is a red card review. Now, granted, I think it would have been in the penalty area if I remember correctly, so that also could have been a part of it. But yeah, it doesn't make sense why it wasn't actually. Yeah, it didn't make sense why it wasn't actually reviewed a little bit, longer.
Yeah, Coco. The short answer, since Bart brings up the point about him seeing it better from behind the net, why does Vardon have access to a camera right behind and above both goals to look at plays in the box? Literally, it comes down to venue by venue and how many cameras you have available for a broadcast. And if you don't have something down the line, if you don't have your department store sponsored goal cam, if you don't have anything behind the net as a part of the actual broadcast inside the production truck, that's what you have access to. If you don't have anything outside of that, then you're not going to see what the average fan can see from behind the goal, where you get cleaned out by a forearm and nothing happens.
But I feel like MBS has those, so that's why I was also confused.
Yeah, I mean, MBS may, but MBS cannot be used as an influencer. Because
we've seen that. Yeah, I guess I'm just confused because we've seen that before on some of the goalkeeper interference offside calls.
Right. MBS has their own set of cameras, and you can look at what MBS does, but MBS you cannot, if you are a network, you cannot go outside of the production truck for another angle to supplement what is on television. If you VAR, you're going by what's on TV, what you have access to in the production truck. You can't sit there and go, oh, I see on the Halo board that they have a different angle. That's not, unless that's available in the production truck, that you can't go outside. You can't go outside and go to a separate source to get that angle, Bart, that we all saw where it was a clear.
Yeah, I'm confused why that angle doesn't exist, but yeah, anyway.
But in TV production down here, you are pinned in by what the production truck has. Those are the only angles accessible to you, and you have to go by that. No matter what we see inside the stadium with the cameras that are there for MBS, you have to go by what Apple TV is showing with their production truck. You cannot go outside. You can't go outside. You can't color outside the lines to get a different angle to give you a different response.
I mean, I get it. I get your point. I think there are other angles that you probably could have seen an elbow flying.
Oh, no problem. Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. And once it comes down to those actual individual shooters, where are they focused? Are they focused on that action? Or are they on a different play? So literally you're kind of going by what is there and what isn't. The other one that I wanted to bring up in reffing down here this week, unless Jarrett has something else.
No, go off.
Well, I mean, just the notion of player size and how it impacts calls, because Jarrett and I see this when we're up in Kennesaw. And by the way, yeah, there is hashtag action at the fraction tonight for Atlanta United and Memphis 901. A player like Johnny Viall or Alan Carlton.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Viall is 5'3" and maybe 125 or 130 pounds soaking wet.
What is he doing, holding a bowling ball?
Basically, yes. Alan Carlton, 5'6", 130 was what he was listed at coming into this season. So
sure,
we see those players get fouled. Yet when you have someone who is Yorgos Giacomakis' size, is there a different perception or a different standard when it comes to what a player can stereotypically take physically when it comes to delivering a whistle and being called for a foul? Because, I mean, if you're a defender and you've got Johnny Viall or Alan Carlton coming at you and literally you bump them, you could send them into row D.
Yeah.
You do that, and it's a foul. If you were to do something like that and you're a defender and you bump Yorgos Giacomakis and he gets knocked off of his pins, is there the perception, even in conversations off the pitch with officials, that, oh, he's bigger, he should be able to take that blow better than other players who are not his size? And is there a standard where those players who are more physical and who are taller and who are thicker, are they held to a higher standard of taking a blow because of their size? How is that handled from a reffing perspective?
So in theory, they shouldn't be necessarily judged differently, but in practice you do. And a lot of that comes down to what we're looking for when we're trying to call a foul of kind of equal planes, right? So shoulder to shoulder, stuff like that. It's hard to, because we see this a lot, especially at like the youth level, where you have the 13-year-old and half the team is, still at 4'3", and you have one kid who has hit his growth spurt, and he's 5'7", towering over everyone. You do account for the fact that his size does give him some sort of an advantage, but at the adult level, it's not really that same thing. But again, what you're looking for, hopefully, is the defender or the attacker, depending on whoever the aggressor in this case is, unfairly using anything to gain the advantage, right? It could be speed, it could be the angle of attack, it could be, arms, whatever. You have to look at what that angle is. So, like, for example, the Yorgos thing, I immediately did not think it was a foul. I think the player definitely may have come into his back a little bit, but
the Seahos play where he goes and he plows into Yorgis.
Yeah, but
no, I agree. I think Yorgos, and I think it was a smart play by him. I think he saw him coming and kind of shifted his body to make his back.
Yeah.
There.
And so I think the referee saw what was happening and was like, no, we're not playing that game. It could have been called a foul in the moment. It could have been. I also would not want Miles Robinson to get called for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's supposed to be, again, what you're looking at is that equal plane, as I like to call it, your vertical space, which is a concept that I take from basketball, is, you're entitled to the vertical space, and as long as you're not really infringing upon another player's vertical space, you should be fine. I don't necessarily think that was what happened in that moment. I think, Jared, as you said, Yorgos knew what was going on. He shifted his own body, and at that point, you've kind of abridged your own vertical space there. But yeah, I mean, the short answer is it shouldn't, but it does come into play.
And how, and I guess what I'm trying to ask here is the notion of fighting stereotypes and trying to call things.
Well, it also comes into play, at least for I see it comes into play the opposite way, where if a small person runs into a big person and falls down, I'm very often like, sorry, dude, you shouldn't run into a tree. That's on you. And that should be looked at as that, because that point still stands. I remember Abby Wambach getting called for a lot of fouls like this because she was just physically bigger than most humans, let alone women's soccer players around her time.
Oh, Jason has ranted about her for years because he was at UGA when she was at Florida. He would go to soccer games and she would just throw UGA defenders around because she was a beast.
Yeah, and it's like, well, how do you call that when it's clear that she's just physically superior to anyone? But there are times that she fouled people. It is hard. It is hard. It's, again, the problem with this sport is there's so many moving parts, and one person keeping an eye on all of it, and two people just making sure that players are playing within their confines. Like, it's not like a lot of ARs are even making those calls. Especially not near the penalty box. So it's tough. It's tough.
We haven't gotten into Crocker and USMNT.
Yeah, we got time.
So we haven't gotten into Crocker and USMNT yet. What do you think?
So I think the people who are, I think overall this is a good hire, right? I think two things. One, Charlie Davies was so upset that this was an underwhelming hire, and I want to just ask him, who did he think was going to get hired for this job? And I know he wanted his best friend Oguchi Onyewu to get hired, but I hope he understands that's kind of like the problem we've had in U.S. soccer for the longest time. Which, by the way, I don't think Gooch would have been I think he would have been a perfectly good hire. But I think we got a guy who has the CV that you would want, who is also interested in the job. And I think that's the biggest thing people need to understand is U.S. soccer and FA jobs as a whole are not big, bright, shiny objects the way that we as U.S. soccer fans think that they are. We think, oh, well, we've got a World Cup coming, we've got X, Y, and Z. That's not the same. You have to have some level of desire. And Crocker was interested in this job, clearly. I'm sure he was approached, maybe not like he sought it out at the beginning, but he was interested. He has a great background of talent development, of instilling I think what I like is that he's not going to instill a set style of play, but rather processes to develop players to be able to play a lot of styles of play. And to me, that is more important from from the U.S. level, because we're not Brazil, we're not Spain, we're not Italy, we're not Germany. We do not have like, this is how we play soccer, and we've been playing soccer like this since the 1950s. We're the United States of America. We are a cultural melting pot, and that includes the way that people coach and play soccer. So if his mindset, like he seems to set out, is to develop players to be able to have the technical and tactical skills to adapt to any game, I think that's a much better way to look at it than, oh, we're going to do this. He did mention he wants to be, he wants to have the ball. I think that is what I wanted to hear, is that, we're not doing the Red Bulls-esque style, which I think was kind of a fear when Southampton was mentioned, because they do kind of do that, and they have anyway. So I think that was good that ball was mentioned, and tactical ability on the ball, or technical ability on the ball was mentioned. But I'm glad he wasn't like married to a certain idea or style of play, right? Because at the international level, you need to be tactically fluid as a manager, and the fact that he's going to hopefully set up methods to get the U15s through the senior national team to just communicate and express ideas and get on the same page of the type of game you want to see. But we're not playing a 4-3-3. That's not his goal. We're not doing positional play necessarily as like the Pep Guardiola level of it. It's how do we make this work with the players that we have at this team at this point in time?
Go for it, Jarrett.
It's okay. No, so we asked the next question because he doesn't take over till August. We talked about this earlier.
Right.
We're going to talk about this for the foreseeable future, Coach. Because where do you go here? What do you do? Yeah.
Well, I think the good thing is that his 2 allowances from Southampton are get the women's national team ready for their World Cup, which it seems very much like Kate Markgraf is still the leader of that program, which is fine. But the second one is to start that coaching search. I would imagine, and I know it's not quite the same as athletic director of a college team, but I would imagine he has a list of guys, right? You would imagine he has a list of candidates that he personally feels would be good for the job. And he may not have thought too hard about it before now, but like everyone who's in that type of stuff has their like, oh, I like how this person does it. We obviously have Sportsology, who's still kind of leading that search in terms of just finding candidates, reaching out to them, collecting the actual list. So what I've kind of said, and I've said it on my recording of the podcast that'll come out hopefully by tomorrow.
There you go.
Is I don't expect a new manager to coach either of the tournaments this summer. And I'm fine with that. I really am. But I do expect for them to start. I think yesterday or maybe today is day one of finally hiring the new manager. So I would like to get it in place before the end of the Gold Cup. Because again, I think Hudson, you just let him have the 2 tournaments. It's fine. Not if we win these tournaments, great. If we don't, like it, we haven't gained or lost really functionally anything. But if you can get that next man, woman, whoever in place by the end of the Gold Cup, I think you can start hitting the ground running. And I say that because the Premier League season ends, May 28th?
Yeah, we got about a month.
All the other European leagues in about the same time.
Yeah.
Your pool of coaches will increase. It will expand significantly because there's going to be some.
But what about the black helicopter theory that is being proposed that the interview of Marsh at Southampton was a dry run for the interview with USMNT?
Well, he wasn't hired at Southampton, so.
But Crocker now is in a different gig, and they've already done this once before.
We don't even know how much influence Crocker had over that search, though, John. That's like you're talking. Like I understand it is a black helicopter theory for that reason, but there's no evidence to support that Crocker was making that ultimate decision either way. I'm sure that Jesse Marsh, his stock for the U.S., like if you were to be looking at bets, his odds have increased for sure. But I also don't know if Jesse Marsh is interested. That's the other thing that you don't know. But again, probably Monday, May 30th, Black Monday, you have a much larger pool of candidates. And I would personally wait until then to make sure you have, and I get it, these are guys who are most likely let go, but I'd rather have you're going to have more options. You're not going to have to, and furthermore, you're more likely to have a club say, yeah, you can talk to our manager even if he is retained, than you are right now, especially for a lot of these clubs that are fighting for either a European spot or try to save off relegation in any of the number of leagues that we have. There's also the idea that you want to get guy now. I get it, but like I don't think we're gaining or losing anything by not having a full-time head coach in place for the Nations League final or the Gold Cup. I really just don't.
Jarrett, what else is on your mind before we let Bart go back to the real world and gnash his teeth before his matchup in the middle of the afternoon?
Sorry, I got distracted by the Vic Beasley stuff from this morning. My calm is completely broken right now, and my soul is broken.
Well, anytime
I hate the city so much sometimes.
Anytime Tack McKinley gets referenced, that's always a thing.
Oh my God. Anywho, so I guess quickly, and you don't have to do an entire 11 because I know that's stressful. What would be the key changes you would make for tonight's game if you're given the lineup sheet just to try and balance things out against Memphis?
Well, I think personally, I'm looking at the fact that Almada, Yorgos, probably Gutman, aren't starting.
Yeah.
I would personally not play Almada or Yorgos because they need. I mean, Almada's still kind of recovering from an injury. I know it wasn't a big thing, but he did miss a match. I would take this as an opportunity to let him rest. I think Yorgos is definitely not playing no matter what. Same with Gutman. It's like, hey, give these players a rest. You can play Sejdic, Rossetto. You can play Sosa and Ibarra. Like you can, not together, obviously, but you have 4 midfielders that you can still play. 5 if you want to give it to Jay Fortune, who fine, whatever, do that. But I think you're definitely starting Ronald Hernandez. I think I'm still not sure if, and I said this earlier in the chat, I'm still not sure he's actually a human that plays soccer for Atlanta United. I haven't seen him. So
Ronald Hernandez?
Yeah.
Oh, I can confirm he exists.
Does he still play soccer, and is it for Atlanta United? We'll see that tonight. I think I'm joking, but
there will be miracles if you believe.
It's a little shocking that he hasn't played this season. That's my point. But anyway, I think he'll start. I think Ricky Machop-Chol will start. Put him at the 9. Screw it. I don't care.
Machop has done everything you could have asked of him. Give the kid credit, man.
I know they joke that Ibarra's the backup goalkeeper. I think Machop-Chol is just your second or your third string of any position on the field anyway. Like you put him at center back, he's still probably effective. So
hey, look, the best thing I heard this weekend was we were in the locker room after the game. Somebody asked Clement Diop about you're the starting goalkeeper now. What's the game plan? He said, "Don't get hurt."
Yeah,
it's been a struggle for Atlanta United goalkeepers over the past year and a half.
Well, you got Vicente Reyes signed on a 4-day deal. So
the problem is Justin Garces is still recovering from ACL injury.
I know.
Yeah, so even your 6th string goalkeeper is banged up too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, let's just no. Hamid is look. If he stands on his head, great. He'll bitch about how he should be for the national team right now.
Of course.
Bill Hamid
is he going to slander Brad Guzan again?
Probably. Yeah. Well, I'm healthy, and I'll be like, well, you're not good at soccer, so pick which one you want. Pick a struggle, man.
You're healthy. I have a goldfish. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about things that don't matter.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, you should be able to take care of Memphis. They're not a very good team in the USL.
But they have grown into it over the last couple of matches, though. They're unbeaten in their last 3, and I think they're starting to grasp kind of what Glassy wants them to do.
And we should smash them.
Yeah, you should. You should.
Sorry. I just look. I think you're looking at rotating the squad out of necessity, not out of to save legs. That's where we're at right now. Obviously, I don't think Gigi's playing. I don't think Almada's playing, and I don't think Gutman's playing because they're still battling some injuries. It wouldn't surprise me if Ibarra doesn't start because he is still kind of coming back from, the challenge that James Sands put into him. So, I don't think he starts that, but I think he should play. Like, you bring him in at the second and in the second half and take off Sosa, and you should be good. Yes. I think whoever is playing, we're still good enough to beat Memphis. I really do believe that.
Yeah, one of the bigger favorites on the board.
As we should be.
According to the juice box.
Just don't pull a San Jose.
No. Oh, yes. For the resident earthquake fan here that's a part of this.
Sorry, Jarrett.
Are you going to be trying to get as much work done as possible between now and the middle of the afternoon so your time is clear? Or are you
sure? Yeah.
Are you going to try and distract yourself with work while the match is going on?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. I have a list of things that I need to get done before 3 for sure. And after that, it'll be just sitting on the couch with my laptop open and responding to things as needed, probably. But yeah, I'm going to work hard the whole day. That's my plan.
Yes, that is true. You're going to work hard the whole day. At Soccer for USPOD at Bartimus Prime 19. You said a new Soccer for USPOD is coming out hopefully next couple of days.
Hopefully by tomorrow. We'll see what editing I can get done tonight, and then get it out to you tomorrow morning. Hope to see some of y'all in Nashville.
There you go. So
yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, okay. Are you sitting with the away section? Or are you in a cool person seat?
No, I'm not a cool person. I'm going with a group of friends, and we're just going to go to Nashville, and we're going to stop. We've already made plans to stop at Buc-ee's on the way up. Go to Nashville,
Calhoun, baby.
Yep.
Go watch the game. Maybe go to a restaurant afterward, or go to a jazz bar or something if we can find one.
Very nice.
And then crash. Get up Sunday morning, go have brunch, and beat all the bachelorette parties to brunch, and then hit Buc-ee's on the way home, and then go to the Tuesday game Sunday night.
Yeah, sounds fantastic.
Yeah, because it is Atlanta United 2 and Philadelphia Union 2, and it's a 6 o'clock start Sunday.
I'm going to try and drink all of the mimosas wherever we go to make sure there are none left for the bachelorette parties on Sunday morning.
There you go. Yes, Jason Nix, there is a Buc-ee's in Auburn. It is off the exit of the Auburn Technology Parkway. I know because I went there.
Because he stopped there he had to stop there and get food to keep himself from jumping on stage when Hugh Freeze got on stage.
That is true. So yeah, went to go see St. Paul and the Broken Bones at Standard Ground in Waverly, and Standard Deluxe in Waverly, and it was their album release party. So we went to that, and then on the way home, stopped at the Buc-ee's in Auburn, and it is absolutely the new shiny Buc-ee's that you would anticipate. So it does exist. Will's not allowed to sit in away sections apparently, because if something stupid happens and the supporters groups get banned from Nashville, won't be able to go to any games in Huntsville for the duration of said. Okay, yeah, that's Will's in trouble.
What makes you think we're going to do something stupid? Listen, I've been to plenty of away games and not been kicked out. So if you're worried about that, that seems like a you problem. Well,
but Nashville should be a fun one. And
Will, just don't build any rockets and bring them.
Yeah, don't launch any rockets inside Geodis. It's a shiny new stadium. So
it's not a great stadium, but it is new. Yes,
it's shiny new stadium, and the press box is all the way down.
It's shiny and new in the same way that a PT Cruiser is at one point shiny and new.
Yes,
my hot take is Geodis is a not great soccer park, and people need to. I think people need to. It is.
We're still parking in.
I haven't been there yet. I'm excited to see it.
That's my hot take. I think Orlando is a very similar in that your facade is not fully finished and the concourse are small, but I would rather be able to be within walking distance of a bar after the match than wherever they put Nashville Stadium. Paid a lot more money for it and are not in a great spot. So
and parking is awful. Parking at Geodis is hideous. That's the other thing they got to work on. All right, Bart, go to work because you got stuff to do and you got matches to watch and things like that. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
All right. Again, if I say hey, if you see me in Nashville, I'll say hi back, and then I'll also be in Fort Lauderdale next weekend. So same applies.
Wow, there you go.
Abby and I are partying in Fort Lauderdale next weekend. I'm making her take me out for some sort of clubbing adventure. I don't know.
Wow, that is strong. That is very cool. All right, get out of here.
Bye, y'all.
All right, that's Bart. And Rich is true. He did like parking inside the Nashville Speedway.
Yes. That's the most southern thing possible too, man.
Well, and that was great because that's where the media parking is for Geodis, is inside. It is on pit road inside the speedway that is next door to Geodis. And so literally you're parking on pit road inside the Nashville Speedway. It's amazing.
That's the most Southern thing you could do.
Yes.
I mean, this is like if you put a new stadium in North Carolina and said, where do we park? Over at Darlington.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to park over here. So there's all of that stuff. But remember, broadcast plans. It is, I think it's 7:00 tonight on 92.9. Kick at 7:30. And there will be hashtag action at the fraction. So for those of you who are on Twitter, please look at Mike Conti's timeline and make sure that you are using the hashtag appropriately all day today so we can get it trending here in the Atlanta area with Atlanta United taking on Memphis 901. And it'll be great to see everybody up there in Kennesaw tonight. Jarrett, you've got the last word before we get out of here.
I just learned that Vic Beasley is playing in the XFL.
That is true. He absolutely
playing for the Vegas Vipers.
Yes, and Vegas plays at Cashman, and it is about what you'd expect for having grass put on infields at Cashman when they were trying to do it. So it was adventurous at points, and there's video of how adventurous it has been, especially for the kickers in rainy and wet conditions at Cashman. So, yes, that is that is a world all of its own. So we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning at 9:05. And we will talk about Open Cups. We'll talk about cup sets. 10 o'clock hour is going to start with our friends from the USL show, Kaylor Hodges, and all of the other folks that are on that program. They're going to be with us to start the 10 o'clock hour, but we'll talk about Open Cup. We'll talk about Atlanta United. We'll talk about a bunch of other stuff. We'll talk about the match that happened today, early in the afternoon. We'll check on Bart. We'll do a mental health check and see how he is after the match, either good or bad. And we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff. So
be even better to make people park it like Rockingham.
Yes, absolutely.
Rockingham haven't hosted a race at Rockingham since the early 2000s, I don't think.
But it is coming back.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to go to a race at Rockingham. Jesus.
The Rock is coming back. I think they're going to do the truck series at Rockingham, if not. But the Rock is coming back, and I'll figure out what the dates are.
Thank God.
So the smaller tracks are coming back, and I still want to go get a Martinsville hot dog at some point. But that's just me. Don't really care about the race. Just go get a Martinsville hot dog or get like 12 of them and just turn around and take them home. Like I said, we'll be back 9:05. We'll talk stuff. Hour number 2 is the USL show. Guys are coming in. It's the last Thursday of the month. We'll talk about what's going on in the USL Championship in League One. Jarrett, go ahead and get us out of here.
Mucha blood to y'all. Be safe.
What he said. End of the show. We get to do this. We'll be back 9:05 in the morning. Tonight, 7:00, 92.9. Action at the Fraction.